What made you want to wear makeup and nail polish?
Sorry.
What made you want to wear makeup and nail polish?
I mostly skipped the nail polish, but makeup just seemed to be part of being on stage, really, being a performer. And then it was pretty much left to everyone to kind of work out how to do it the best for themselves.
What inspired your funky, colourful outfits?
Uh, Lots of things, really, but probably mostly all sorts of forms of performance and entertainment, from circus to vaudeville, and then just odd things like military uniforms, even, all sorts of things.
Did you put the band members in thought when you're making the split ends blazers?
Yeah, mostly, yeah. Everyone had, well, there were different ideas, but yeah.
What were your favourite hairstyle you made?
Oh, um, well, Tim and I probably had the most extreme hairstyles, but they sort of evolved over time as well. I think, um, I think my one was the winged head, the wing nut. Yeah.
I thought that was very cool. We found out that you went to Elm School of Fine Arts. Did it help you design the album covers?
Yes. In a way, I suppose I was always interested in art, and in fact, by going to Elam, that's where we met. Most of the band members kind of met. We'd all come from different parts of New Zealand, and probably were the only kids at school doing art. So it was really inspiring to suddenly be amongst people that had come from that same sort of background. But yeah, that in part that helped.
What is your favourite instrument?
uh, well, as a percussionist, I think I realised just about anything can make a noise. And I probably, like a lot of kids, started as a little fella in the kitchen with pots and pans. But and I used to, before I had drums, I used to use mum's knitting needles in the telephone book, and used to drive her nuts, of course. But yeah, look, I think, well, there's so many instruments within the percussion realm, and I love them all.
I get that. Did you enjoy filming music videos and what one was your favourite one to film? What type of tech did you use?
What sort of,
Tech did you use?
um, well, most of the video clips were actually shot on film, 16 mil, nearly all of them. I think there was one that we went big on 32 mil, which was at the time what would have been a feature film format. And that was, what was it? Message to My Girl. We were looking for a one shot clip, and so we thought we could afford the film because it was expensive, 35 mil. Uh, yeah. Other clips that were done by TV stations and things like that were on video, obviously, but mostly our ones were on film.
What is your favourite split ends album?
Oh, um, I think I like Time and Tide. Uh, Different ones for different reasons, I suppose. Dysrhythmia, I liked, and Mental Notes still sits there somewhere as uh, a pivotal point, really, in the band. Our first proper album, and listening to it now, it seems extraordinarily sort of complex compared to where we ended up. But yeah, for different reasons, different albums, I guess. But if it was one, I say probably Time and Tide.
Were you proud of all your songs?
Where what?
Proud of all your songs.
Yeah, pretty much. With every album, there's couple that probably weren't, as good as others. You can never have all of them being fantastic. And in the recording process, some things come forward and others don't work out quite as well as you kind of thought beforehand. But they all made the album for a reason, I suppose. So, and we were lucky that we had lots of songs to choose from. So we were able to be fairly brutal when it came to selection of songs when we got to recording them.
That's understandable. Back in the day, what was your biggest audience and where did you play?
Um, I think the biggest audience we had was a show that was called the End of the Decade or something. It was at Sydney Opera House, and it was a huge show that I think they estimated about 200,000 people. They were spread right over the Opera House and through the park at the back. Mostly, though, when we were doing our own shows, the biggest would have been about 20,000, I suppose, something like that.
That's a lot of people.
It is, yeah. There is,
What was,
sorry, carry on.
what was the hardest song to perform?
Uh, Gee. Well, I mean, I think none of them seem to be hard. When you get to that point of performing in front of people, you've already worked it all out. Um, so, and we did probably 1,000 gigs. So some of those songs we played a lot, and I guess others. There was a few oddball ones. There was one called Nightmare Stampede that was a 15-minute song and that had lots of parts in it and stuff. And I think we only did it a few times because it was sort of tricky. Um, but yeah, mostly, yeah, they were all fun to play.
15 minutes is long.
Yeah.
Do you miss performing?
Yeah, sort of. Yeah. Um, there's a possibility that we'll do some more shows sometime soon. Because we've got the 50th anniversary now of Mental Notes, there's a bit of interest in getting us back on stage. So we're looking at that possibility.
How do you feel hearing your band's songs again?
Sorry.
How do you feel hearing your band's songs again?
Um, Got to be honest, I don't listen to our music that much. Occasionally, but you hear it at the supermarket, and that's kind of nice because it's still out there and it's still on the radio, obviously, if you listen to commercial radio. So it's got a life still, and that's quite gratifying, really, because it's still part of people's lives, and often people tell me how important that is. And you look at the world today, there's a lot of pretty horrible stuff going on, and music's one of those things that it can give you some nice thing in a day, depending on what you feel about it. But that's a great thing to be able to be part of, really.
Yeah. What is your favorite band apart from Squid and why?
Favorite band? Wow. Uh, that's tricky. At the moment, or for a while, I've been listening to a lot of African and Middle Eastern sort of music, and I think I arrived at that as a percussionist, where I realised that's the world where, especially African music, percussion reigns. Um, but right at the moment, there's a few bands, well, in Australia, young bands coming up, bands like Amel and the Sniffers. I don't know if you've come across them. Um, the King Lizard and the Gizzard Wizard or whatever they are, and Coyote Hiatus. Yeah, so there was always something new coming along that, well, hopefully that you can hear and go, oh, that's great. there's a lot of bands in history, too many to list really, that are also fantastic. And we're in a great time now where you can find all that. It's all there, it's if you go looking. So yeah.
Who named the band?
Who named the band? Um, I'm not entirely sure. I think that might have come from Tim.
Who was your favorite person to work with?
Favorite person outside of the band.
No, to work with.
Or nah, can't, can't do that one. I don't think. Bit political.
What was your favorite memory with the band?
Um, oh, so many, but I think a period of time that stands out for me was when we first went to England. And then we got there in 1976, and it was just before punk sort of exploded. We were staying in just off King's Road in London, and where the sort of centre of the punk movement really evolved. And we would just go for a walk, and there'd be the Clash and the Sex Pistols, Susie and the Banshees. They're all sort of out there wandering around, showing off. And it was so exciting for us to finally make it to England because that's where we were always kind of heading, I guess. Um, that was a good time for me.
Did you like making a solo single, My Voice Keeps Changing, that was released in 1983?
Uh, yeah, that was it was sort of a bit of a throwaway, really. We had spare time in the studio, and everyone did a few bits and pieces. The record company had said afterwards if we didn't want to release the material we'd recorded, we'd have to pay for it. So I said, "Oh, okay, put it out." And of course, it was a bit confusing for people because suddenly they thought I was a country and western fan, but I just kind of like novelty songs, I guess. And that was one that had stuck in my mind from a New Zealand performer called John Hoare, who had done a cover of it years before that I heard when I was a kid. And I just kind of remembered it and thought, oh, I'll give that a go.
What did you like about playing in a band?
What do I like about
Playing in a band.
still missing that? So I just get that in bit again.
What did you like about playing in a band?
Oh, well, there's something really special about the the chemistry that happens in a band like Split Enz or any band that sort of works well. And it only happens by playing with other people, really. That's, I think that's the crucial thing about it. But um, the best parts of that were often in rehearsal, where you're just playing for yourself or yourselves. And that was the thing I think I enjoyed the most in a way.
What tour did you have most fun at?
Um, gosh, it's for a long time, it was kind of just incessant. We'd do a tour, come off the road, start working on new material, record, and then go back on the road. And it was all kind of the same except for the songs, with because it'd be a new bunch of songs each time, obviously. Um, but I think touring Canada was always a bit of a highlight. It was one country where the band sort of got bigger and bigger with each album. So I suppose that was one that we all kind of looked forward to.
What do you now do that Split Ends isn't together anymore?
Um, well, ironically, we are sort of still together in a funny way. Like even now, we're looking at um, the 50th anniversary of Mental Notes, and that inevitably means the record company's repackaging and re-promoting it, so you get drawn back into the business side of it at least. And we all still fairly regularly communicating and occasionally still get together for a bit of a play. So yeah, it's ongoing. And I am still I make music myself, which is just what anybody does probably. Like you could do at home with a microphone and a computer, it's pretty easy to do.
Are you still in touch with some other members of the band?
Yes, we often communicate, and as I was saying, with the reissuing of the albums has meant that we've have to get together at least by email or by Zoom occasionally to discuss what's happening. So and yeah, we're still fairly regularly in touch. Not with everyone, there was a lot of us, but yeah.
Mike Chun was here recently. He said he liked your designs and costumes.
Oh yes. Yeah, well, I mean, initially, I can remember the first set that I presented to the band. I sort of basically said, "I'm going to make some stuff," and just there was no fittings or anything like that. I just kind of made this stuff. It was all pretty wonky anyway, and I think it was in Hamilton, in fact, that at Founders Theatre that was the first time that we all put on a set of costumes, and I remember that happening, and then everyone looking at each other and sort of pointing and laughing at, odd lengths of trouser and offset jackets and things. And yeah, so, but that was the start of it. And I guess the idea then was just to keep changing and keep coming up with new things each time.
Thank you for talking with us. Have a great day, and we hope to see you again sometime.
Oh, well, thank you. And yeah, thanks, Lockie, for organising it, and hope it all goes well for you guys.